Hi, I'm Melaney.
And I'm Cory.
And welcome to Love 'em and Lead 'em.
Lessons and laughs with the ladies of Dog Training Camp USA.
In this podcast, you'll take away proven and practical dog training advice with plenty of stories and laughs along the way.
Join us as we share our experience from the kennel and from life.
With that, let's sniff our way into this episode. Yellow.
Hey, we're back.
Here we are
We're back again
in our favorite room at the library.
Bullitt County Public Library.
With our
shout out
with our favorite friend, Matt,
Matt's the best.
who's wearing a great shirt today.
He's wearing a cryptid shirt, and you and I are both fans of cryptids.
Literally.
And if you don't know what a cryptid is,
Look it up.
look it up. And then you'll see how weird we really are.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure everybody, if all four of our listeners have probably got a pretty good idea of how weird we are.
Yeah, I think we're up to 5. We're up to 5 whole listeners.
Don't count your chickens. We're probably going to lose one after
Oh,
this.
if we count the chickens, we're at like 11.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Today we're going to talk about a question we had on a topic of a different podcast we did.
which is fun because we actually do have listeners and they're asking us questions. So this is a great way for us to be able to expand on a topic or, make sure the people are getting what they want.
Yo, I think they're getting more than they bargained for.
Probably.
Usually.
Probably.
But it's a question we get in some form or fashion, and all the time from people, and it's usually, if those of you that remember our episode about the dog named Zuko that kind of took both of us by surprise.
Yeah, he was a big beefy guy and not quite. We got there and it wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be based on the phone consultation.
Yeah, and he rocked both of us. And we weren't quite expecting it. And it doesn't happen to us a lot.
No,
so
it doesn't.
My very good friend, who's been a huge supporter of the podcast that I appreciate so much, her name is Marissa.
Shout out.
She was like, she listened to that episode and she was like, I still can't figure out why the dog liked Cory so much and hated you. And I was like, easy. I was having an off day. In fact, we both were a little bit off that day.
Yeah, we were.
Emotionally. I was physically as well. But I was in front of a dog that I had no business being in front of. And had I had known what was in store for me, that was probably a session we would have canceled. But if you remember in the episode, the clients, when they called us, hadn't really given us any red flags or any,
Correct.
hadn't said anything that we thought we needed to be concerned about. And that just the entire scope changed when we got there. So we want to talk about that today, because it shows up in every single aspect of our business.
It really does.
I mean, at the kennel, we are always talking to our trainers at the kennel about not getting into situations with dogs that you're not prepared to finish, right? Physically or mentally. We talk about our, finishing arguments with pet parents. Like, don't pick the argument if you're not in the mood to finish it, right? If Sparky's, doing whatever, barking excessively, I'll use that as an example because it's something that drives you up the wall, but it's not like a
low
safety,
stakes.
It's a safety, not a safety thing, right? Like you could let it go for a while. So that's what we want to talk about today.
Well, and I think the biggest thing to remember is dogs don't speak English and they're reading body language, they're reading vibes, they're reading emotions. And if that is the way they communicate with each other, then that's also what they're reading from humans. And when a human is not on the top of their game or is off a little mentally or emotionally, a dog can read that and understand that they can commit a crime of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
like mom doesn't know what she's doing today. She doesn't have her head on right. I'm going to go chew on the couch. So it's a matter of we have to be in our best mental state and state of mind for us to be effective with the dog, but also to keep ourselves safe if it's kind of a more challenging dog.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely, I get in front of a dog that maybe I don't know as well, or I, haven't handled before. And I know only because I've just been bit so many times being a dumbass. But now that I kind of know how to keep that from happening, I know what buttons I can push. I know how to read the body language, right? So I'm not going to ask a dog to do something super unnatural or uncomfortable for it if I'm having a bad day, or the dog seems like it's having a bad day, or something else is off environmentally. It's just not going to be a positive experience. Like learning is not going to take place in any environment that's not positive. And that includes what is happening in your body physiologically.
Correct. Well, it's what makes dogs so good at comforting us is the same thing that makes some situations more dangerous or more difficult to navigate if you're not in a good mental state. Like, if I'm crying, my Labrador is all over me and he's reading that, right?
Well, and there's smells that are associated with those changes in your emotional state, right? Like you're giving off more of a certain hormone, or your brain is creating more of a chemical,
and your heart rate changes.
Yes, these dogs can smell all of that. Everybody, nobody really realizes how powerful that sense of smell is. Yes, they're in tune to how we move, visually. They're in tune to those things, especially with their own humans. But I would say, strangers. In the case of Zuko, I said in that episode, I had an injection in my back, like literally the day before, and I was very stiff and I was feeling very weird. And it was not something I'd had before.
Well, you had a lot of anxiety leading up to the shot in your back.
Yes, I did.
You had a very difficult time that day.
I don't like doctors.
So it was a matter of you were struggling physically and coming off of some pretty severe anxiety and kind of that, fog of anxiety.
Well, even just think about it from the smell perspective, right? So I had this substance injected into my body. That dog smelled it. Like, no doubt about it. It's a steroid, right? Like, it's not a naturally occurring thing at those levels that you make in your body. So even like that small of a variable could signal to a dog, not maybe that I was weak or I was off my game or anything, but just, hey,
something is off.
This is different. And then the way I was moving was different, and the way I was interacting was different. And so to a dog that's that sensitive, of course it set him right off.
Well,
right?
And to that topic, like I've seen even just on Instagram recently about, two dogs, and one went to the vet and one didn't. And when the one that went to the vet came home, the one that stayed home is like, oh, you look like my brother, but
you smell
something
different.
Went down. You smell different.
That happened to Hope and Bella.
Yep.
Do you remember that?
Yep. So when we talk about this stuff, sometimes people are like, oh, these two again with their crazy feelings and such. But honestly, it happens so many times, and it happens to dogs with each other. It happened to my cats. I had a cat that was in the hospital. Everybody got along great. The cat was in the hospital and came home, and everybody bullied him. After he got home, they were like, you are no longer welcome here. You smell weird. You look weird. They were hissing at him. So it's more than just proximity that he was gone for a while. It's definitely noticed in the animal world when something is off.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Hope and Bella. It's two of our dear friend Tammy, her two dogs.
Yeah, they've lived together their whole lives. And which one went to the vet and then which one?
I don't remember.
They both had something.
Yeah, they've both been in and out of.
I feel like it was Bella went and came back and had maybe something removed, or like it was something a little more involved than a checkup and a shot.
Yeah.
Like something that had really triggered a stress response in the dog. And the dog comes back into the home, Bella, who's a chocolate lab, probably between 70 and 80 pounds, and her older sister, who is a puggle, gosh, how old is she? She's over 10. She's very old.
Nipping at her.
I don't like this. This feels unstable to me. You've brought something into my home that's different, right? Is what I imagine.
It looks like you, but doesn't smell like you.
Yeah, and to a dog, smell is probably more impactful than eyesight or hearing. So if the smell is off, then it's game over for you. You cannot fake that. You cannot hide that from a dog.
No.
So it's very important when you're in front of a dog that's picking up on that, to keep it cool, which is what we tried to describe how we did that in the last episode, but like on the inside.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we got so tickled about it, like, because we literally just had no idea. And then we had to like do
regroup.
Well, we had to do the thing where we communicate non-verbally,
Yeah.
and like make eyes at each other so that
Here we are again being weird,
freak the people out and make everything worse. But
that's what we have kind of decided was the problem with Zuko, was you were really off and you were like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have come in on this. And we've seen it happen at the kennel many times.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, we had, somebody on our staff our staff is, before I say this, our staff is amazing.
Oh, they're the best in the whole world.
Just on a side note, like it's all girls and I love them all so dearly. Like this morning somebody was off, like out of routine, needed the day off. And I was going to go in and just help them get some things done while this person was gone. And they called me at like 8:30 this morning and they're like, actually, we don't need you to come in. And I'm like,
you were sad.
You were
like, oh,
all dressed and had my coffee and I was getting ready to go do my thing at the kennel. So all of these girls that work with us, like, they're so tough and they're so hardcore and there's no like dog they won't back down from. And while like that's how I used to be, until life got me like more
sensitive.
What's the word? No, I was just put in my place by these dogs, right? Like I used to be like, there's nothing I won't do, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's what a lot of people in their youth think when they're starting their careers. But like how do you teach these young handlers like that you got to step away? Like if you're having a bad day, the one I was getting ready to talk about is she suffered like a really sudden, crazy, devastating loss in her life. And, about a week later, she's like, well, I'm ready to come back to work. And I took one look at her and I was like,
you can't come back.
I can't let you come back yet. I have dangerous dogs back there that will freaking eat your face off if you get in front of them like this. So I'm trying, that's just like such a weird, delicate line that we dance all the time. But
it's a thing that I feel like a lot of employers don't want to touch, but we have to touch it because it's physically dangerous, to work with a dog if you're not in a good mental place. And it's hard to explain because it sounds woo-woo, but it's not woo-woo. It's reality.
It's real.
And I think that's another thing that kind of sets us apart as far as the dogs we work with and how we do it, is because we're respecting that about the dogs and we're not avoiding it, and we're making sure that the people are understanding it too. I mean, it happens with clients as well.
Yes, we have to shake it down a lot. Like, what is going on? And you are way better at this because you're usually talking to them before.
Yeah, I will get a call and there's been a behavior change in the dog and everything was fine until 3 months ago, and now she's whatever it might be.
Crazy behavior.
It might not be biting. It might be having accidents, or it might be refusing to come out of the crate. I mean, it could be any kind of odd behavior that is now impacting the family. And I'm always like, okay, well, if you know when it started, the behavior, tell me what was going on around that time. Did anything happen? And they're, nope, nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Nothing changed.
Really? Nothing changed. They're like, no, nothing has changed.
I did lose my job. And
yeah.
My mom died.
Yeah.
And like, then it all kind of comes out.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I lost my job. My mom died. My grandpa got cancer. He lives with us.
Oh, yeah. That's one we hear a lot.
just any number of life things that people look at their dog as, this is my dog. He's a separate creature from the family. He lives in the house.
He's a separate species.
He's a separate species. Like, it's a side note, right? But we know that they are an integral part of the family, and they're taking on the emotions and feelings of everything that's going on in the household, and they're responding in their own way, and they don't have a great way of chatting about it like we can chat about it. It comes out as behaviors. Like little kids that don't have the words to say that they're frustrated, it comes out in behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So we're constantly talking to people and shaking out what happened. I've had things as small as we rearranged the furniture.
Yes.
The dog always sleeps on this couch, and all of this started, well, okay, so nobody died. So I'm asking all the questions. Nobody died. Nobody has cancer. Nobody got fired. You know, all of the myriad of things that are life events. And then when they start thinking, they're like, oh, we moved his favorite chair.
Yep.
And then he, started to do whatever the behavior is. So all of these environmental changes or a situational change that has caused any kind of upheaval in the family or any kind of grief or sickness or just any kind of thing like that can really affect a dog's behavior, because that is what they're living for. They're living, with us and to be a part of us.
The other one we get a lot is this behavior didn't start until I got a new neighbor and their dog. We've had that a lot
we
too,
have.
like dogs moving in and out and upset the whole balance of a whole neighborhood block, right?
Yes.
Like because two crazy whatever German Shepherds moved in on the electric fence, and they spend 23 hours a day patrolling the 360 perimeter of their house, and they've stressed everybody out.
Yeah.
Ruined everybody's walks, all the things.
It's a lot of questioning to get down to something that far removed from the household.
Yes.
That is impacting the dog and the household's behavior. So that Zuko case was a perfect example of, if you're not in the right frame of mind, step away, because you're not going to do it well, and the dog is going to take advantage of it.
Yes.
And Zuko did, because he booped you a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that's so interesting about dogs as a species is it's the one thing I love about them the most, right? Like they live their lives so in the moment. So they're the way they learn and their memories are almost like photographic, right? So Zuko's case was they brought us to an area of their property where they hadn't had people a lot, or really ever, since he was just a baby.
But he spent time out there by himself.
But nobody had ever crossed a threshold into what he perceived as his territory, right? So I'm approaching a threshold and I'm all jacked up from top to bottom, right? Inside and outside. And then we're putting this experience in front of the dog that has never really happened to him before, probably in a way that he has remembered. So of course it was terrifying to him. I wouldn't expect a dog to act any other way. So that's another thing that people kind of struggle with is dogs and their long-term memory versus their short-term memory. And the best way it's ever been explained to me is that they're just taking pictures of things in time, and they recognize responses to things, and by smell and visuals and hearing. So
I shouldn't work dogs today.
Because you're wearing that shirt.
This shirt I'm feeling nostalgic.
Yeah.
And this is the Cranberries. And I love the Cranberries. And I feel like a zombie. Because I dropped my daughter off at college yesterday. And my mental state is not fantastic this morning. And so I shouldn't be in front of dogs. So I'm glad we're podcasting instead.
I was at a level of concern about your mental state that I drove you to the pharmacy this morning. I was like, let's just not drive. Let's not get behind the wheel of a car.
So, yeah. And also, guess what happened last night when I got home from dropping her off at college? The dogs were all over me, would not leave me alone. The cat too. Like they could all tell something was up, something was going on. So it's just a note to, our maybe more than 5 listeners and Marissa that your mental state and all of that plays a huge part in it. So when you're frustrated with your dog, when there's a behavior going on that you're a little unclear about and you don't understand where it's coming from, you really need to do more than just my dog is being bad.
Well, and let's give credit where it's due, right? Like your dog is not a footstool. Like it's a living creature in your house. Like it knows you.
It knows you. It knows you better sometimes than you know yourself.
Correct.
And so I always am telling clients, especially like, if you are frustrated with your dog, the first thing you need to do is check yourself.
Yeah.
How am I feeling outside of this problem I'm having with the dog? If you are a hot mess express, then you're probably at least half of the problem.
Just putting it very nicely.
So, like, Zuko was able to be handled by me, but not you, right?
Yeah.
But Zuko already had a tendency to be a little, I'm sure that's what they were experiencing, is that he was overbearing and whatnot. So you were half of the problem, and him not knowing what to do with himself was the other half.
Sure.
So, just like if your dog is jumping all over you all the time, it doesn't have to be a big change that is causing this. It's check yourself. What am I doing that could be making this worse? Or how could I communicate more clearly to the dog that this is not what we're doing? Like, you need to stand down, pupperoonie.
So what are some things that you typically have people do that helps them kind of overcome maybe the secondary things that are going on in their brains when they're faced with like maybe some challenging behaviors?
I think routine is absolutely key. It's like when you don't know what to do with yourself, what do you do? Well, if you're depressed and you can't get out of bed, you have to plan. What do I need to do? I need to get out of bed. So I'm going to get out of bed and take a shower. Well, if you get in the routine of doing that every morning, you can get yourself out of a funk, right? So I think routine is absolutely key. So the next thing that you need to do with your dog, take it outside, go for a walk, change the activity, keep with your routines, even if you are struggling, because that at least will keep the dog a little bit more stable. Is one huge thing that you can do. And if you don't have a routine with the dog, get a routine with the dog.
Well, that might be part of your problem as well if you
That's
don't
true.
have one. But.
That's true. I mean, we help folks figure out a daily routine with their dog all the time, and we're very practical about it. And, it's potty, play, rest, or it's, first thing we eat and then we do this and then we do this. It doesn't matter what the routine is, as long as it's predictable enough that the dog knows what's going to happen and knows what they're supposed to do in that situation. Then if everything goes to shit, at least you can fall back on routine.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things.
Another thing I've heard trainers say is like, think about, this was a Sheri Wolf Lucas shout out.
Shout out, Sheri.
That I really liked how she said, she was like, imagine how, well, first she'll ask like, what's your plan, right? And, you have to, the power of imagining that this thing that you're about to do with your dog is going to go well.
Yeah.
Is a super interesting concept to me, because I'm almost like a dog where I'm just in the moment, and whatever the dog does,
you're just reacting to
I'm kind of, or I'm going to anticipate problems and keep those from happening, where this is like her approach to it is just very interesting to me. So
it's a mind shift.
It
is. Mindset change.
It is. It's very cool.
I did really, we went to a workshop by Sheri Wolf Lucas in Knoxville a couple weeks ago, and it was so cool to hear her say that. Mm-hmm. She would say, before the activity that she was going to have you do with your dog, she would say, what is your plan? So that the person really thought it through. And when you're thinking things through, then you're not as nervous about them. And then the nervousness doesn't go down the leash to the dog, and the dog's chaotic as well. Yeah. So that mind shift was...
It helps to talk. It helps to think about outcomes and what you're going to do. Sometimes I'm the type of person, I'll get way too in the weeds and be like, well, if the dog does this, I will do that. If the dog behaves this way, here's my plan, right? So like, I just have learned over the years, like I almost have to not do that, because then I get too...
you go too far the other
into
way.
the weeds of the technical aspect of what what the process is, where kind of the beautiful part of like my own journey with it is just letting the dogs do what they're going to do, and then we figure it out. And instead of trying to control every single outcome, then
well, that allows you to be more relaxed about it.
Yeah,
as well. Again, it just feeds into the whole, your frame of mind or state of mind is a huge factor when interacting with any dog, not
Yes.
even just your own, like obviously lesson dogs for us, or, you know, your mom's dog. So picture it all going right instead of all going wrong.
Yeah.
Change your mindset and know when it's time to tap out.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
fine to tap out. You went on the other side of the gate.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I didn't like it.
I know you didn't. you turned into Zuko. You're like jumping on the other
pretty
side of the
fucking-
gate.
I was pretty fucking mad about that you were the one handling that dog and not me. But you know, again, that's all part of my own crap. But the other thing that I was just thinking about group class, how we're always talking to people about how we interact with dogs that we don't know, or, you know, teaching people how to advocate for their dogs if somebody approaches them and says, hey, can I pet your dog? And like, what are you looking for from the person, right? Like, I'm not going to let a creep interact with my dog, that somebody that maybe their face is obscured or their movements are erratic.
If the vibe is off for us,
Yeah.
it's definitely off for the dog.
Yeah. So we are showing people how to interact in those situations. And most of the time it's, no, you can't pet my dog, and helping people get fine with that as a response. I mean, right. People really struggle with that. There's kind of this unspoken thing out there that everybody's animal is everybody else's property. And we are constantly trying to empower our clients to not allow that, because when dogs think that somebody might just come up on them at any moment, then they lose all trust and confidence that their humans got their back. And
Correct.
That's not an acceptable way to live. That's why we have all these crazy behavioral problems that we have.
Well, again, I say this all the time to people. It's a matter of, if you are driving your car and you're at a stoplight and somebody comes up to the car and they're wearing a black hoodie and looking a little suspicious and their hands are in their pockets, your physiological response is much different than the day that you pull up to the stoplight and it's the Cozair for children people collecting donations. Then it's the same behavior that the person did, right? They both approached your car. You're in the same spot, but your response is very different. And so it's the same thing for these dogs when they're out with you, or you're on a walk, or you're at Lowe's, or you have people coming over. If you don't feel right about it and you feel some kind of way about the person or the situation, that is going straight down to the dog, and the dog is going to respond accordingly. So it's a matter of gatekeeping your dog so that they're confident and staying calm and giving them direction, instead of just letting whatever is going to happen in some of those situations. But your mental and physical state make a huge difference in how the dog responds.
Correct. And to remedy your mental state, I'm taking you birding after this.
I'm so happy about that.
Like, I need your brain to be online. Let's go look at some birds.
I'm going to wear my binocular harness.
Hell yeah.
And look really fashionable while I bird this afternoon.
In the Cranberries shirt, I
in
hope.
the Cranberries. I might even put the Cranberries on in my AirPods.
Well, there you have it, folks. That is this episode.
Thanks so much, everybody. Hey, if anybody has questions, shoot them to us.
Don't
Hopefully,
ask me.
Marissa, did that help? I hope it helped. I hope it explained a little bit. But yeah, thanks, everybody.
See you next time.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Love 'Em and Lead 'Em. If you want to hear more, be sure to check us out every other week on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Please be sure to follow us on Instagram at Dog Training Camp USA Louisville and check out our website at dogtrainingcamplouisville.com for more information on our training and other services.
If you need help with your dog, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find our contact details in the show notes.
We'll smell you later.